right, guys, we're out here with the Tahoe a little bit. Got some puppy dog action going on.
Yep.
All right, so Skylar, tell us what are we fixing to do here?
All right, so first things first. Well, the top's still off of the box right now from where we were doing the terminal holes, and that you saw. I guess last week is probably when you'll be seeing this, but yeah. So we got these drilled out and everything. We had to take the top off so we could clamp our little measuring thing,
Yeah.
or the
Make
drill
the hole.
straightening
Yeah.
tool. I forget what it's called, but anyway, still got the top off of the box, but we're going to be putting the box in the Tahoe for a test fit right now. And the reason for that is a couple things, but number one, we're wanting to mount this box down by drilling some holes in the bottom of the port right here and going, y'all saw several weeks ago now where we put these stainless steel bolts in here. We're wanting to take some of those back out, probably 4 of them at the corners there, and take them out, put some longer ones in it, drill some holes in the bottom of the port here, and have bolts that go down to bolt the box down to the vehicle in case of a one, just to help it. It should be, from what I've seen and heard, it should be louder, but 2, a lot safer for if I get in a wreck.
sure.
Hopefully not, but you know.
Let me interject here. I can't remember if we mentioned this last time, but Ernest, awesome subscriber, awesome contributor every week to the video. He brought up a good point. Those stainless steel bolts in there are going to be great for plugging off those holes and being, great for the weather and rust and all of that. But we need some good strong bolts for these 4 that's going to hold the box down. So for the ones that are holding the box down, we will probably use something other than stainless steel for those. Maybe a grade 5 bolt at least, if not grade 8 bolts. So good point, guys. I love y'all's interactions with the channel. Y'all have good comments and feedback all the time, and that's one right there. So just in case anybody was wondering, because they heard Skylar say stainless steel bolts, those are going to be stronger.
Yeah, we haven't bought any of the bolts or nothing like that yet. We're still, like I said, this is kind of step number 1 for doing that. But so a couple of other things with putting it back in the Tahoe. None of this we needed the top on for, so we're just going to leave it off to make the box lighter, easier to deal with. But on the back side of the box here, I said the other day, we're going to be mounting amps and isolators and everything to the back here. So while it's in the Tahoe, we need to make sure we have clearance from the back of the seats and everything as to where to mount our amps and our isolators and all that kind of stuff, and make sure we got enough room for wires and to where we're not hitting seats or nothing like that. So probably just going to get an idea of that. Nothing permanent yet, but just maybe mark a couple little pencil lines or something just to get a vague idea. But yeah, just kind of getting an idea for all this, where it's going to be mounted, how everything's going to set on the box. We've already got the terminal holes. Probably should have just went ahead and marked out some other stuff whenever we did that. But
Did you talk about marking the carpet?
No. So what we're going to do, the way we're going to position this box is by measuring off of this plastic piece here. I don't know how far it's going to be in, maybe an inch or 2, something like that. But either marking it with tape or a Sharpie or just remembering the measurement. I'm not exactly sure yet how we're going to notify or how we're going to know where the box is actually going to be positioned. But we'll have some kind of way that we'll show you later, of course, how we know exactly where the box is going to end up being. So yeah, that's what we're about to do. Take the dogs out and put the box in. So
when we're doing the holes for the mounting, that bottom piece is probably going to be separate. We're going to take this box apart at least one more time. And we want to put it back in there right now to mark the carpet, because when you push it all the way in there, it touches the top of those seats, which are leaned back just a little bit. So if we was to put that bottom piece in there and just eyeball where we thought it should go, we would end up with it too far forward, for example. Then now when the box is assembled, it don't fit any longer because the top of the box is hitting the top of those seats. So we needed to do another test fit and know that before we move on to some of these other steps.
So also one of the things, I know y'all are probably wondering how. I don't think the top of those seats hits the top of the box at all, because you know that still sticks up another 2 1/4 inches or something. It should hit somewhere like right here, if I'm remembering right. I don't think it ever hit the top or nothing.
And if
even
we
after
see
we
that
shortened
it
it.
does, we'll throw that in there on top of
Yep.
it if we see that that is the case.
Yep.
But, okay.
But yeah, that's what we're about to do. Get a test fit going, get some ideas for pretty much what we're going to be doing this weekend. So
That's right. Yeah. So more little piddly stuff.
Yep.
Guys, we're fixing to get to some of that. Let us know what you think about these guys. We've got Bella, Oakley, and Junie, short for Juniper. All 3 of these dogs are excellent. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, mailman's here.
all right, so we got the box in here, as you can tell. We started out with the box. Whenever we shoved it all the way up against the seats, it was at about kind of in between 5/8 and 3/4. As far from this black back plastic, it kind of sat back about 5/8 or 3/4 from here, this edge of the box. But yeah, now, so here, I'll just kind of show you from this side. So from inside the box, as you can tell, it's kind of still sitting up against here. But whenever we would fold this up, you'd have to like really slam it to get it, like slam it into the box, and it would mess up the box or something to get it to lock back in place when it was still at 5/8 or 3/4 or whatever. But now that it's at 1/2 inch, you can kind of lock it in pretty easily.
Yep,
you don't even,
barely.
you can just kind of see 2 fingers with that. I mean, you ain't even,
That's good.
but anyway, but yeah, another thing, there's still, I don't know if y'all could tell in the video, there was still the wires over here on this side where we wired up the amp that was originally in the back. So you can see them, they're kind of jammed in there. And like I said, I don't know if you could tell on the video or not, but the box is slightly adjusted this way, like pretty much sitting all the way up against the plastic, and then not as much over here. And it's because of these wires, because if we pushed it where it would be in the middle, the box is a little angled, so we couldn't get like an even measurement all the way across here. So we wanted to make sure we got that even, and now we do, because we got the whole box that way. But you know, when it's all said and done, it'll be centered, and you know, as far centered as we can get it, and even this way. It's not going to be cockeyed or nothing in there.
Those wires are not going to stay there.
No, we're going to reroute, probably redo the whole grounds and reroute the positives to go to those isolators and stuff. But next, we're about to probably get some rough estimates on where the amps and isolators are going to be mounted on the box now from inside. Just get some pencil marks in there just for future reference. So
Yep.
let's get to that.
Let's get to it.
All right, guys, so we're back here in the Tahoe, in the stages of figuring out where the amps and everything's going to go. So we got some lines drawn here, and we got some measurements. Those are not any like final lines, but just for spacing reasons and all that. We're going to mount the box to where it's 2.5 inches from this side and 4 inches from the bottom, which is not exactly where it sits right now, but we'll end up getting some final measurements and stuff, just making sure we can clear the seats and everything. So if you can tell, you can see that clears the seat and everything just fine. Plenty of space back there and everything. If we end up adding fans or something, which is possible, you know, we'll still have room for that. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's where the amp's going to go on this side. And of course, we'll have one on that side. You can see these lines right here as well, where we kind of was spacing that out. So the next thing was some isolators. So we had the isolators in here. We'll go to the back of the Tahoe. So we were trying to figure out the isolators going, you know, in between the 2 amps here. Trying to figure out, you know, if they would fit sideways or if they would have to go like that, or, you know, whatever. So found out that we probably would fit, but not super comfortable. There'd be a bunch of big old zeros, you know, 4 going to each amp plus 4 going in between these. There'll be one coming in, one going out, one going out. So there'll be 4 there plus 4 to each amp. That's a bunch of zeros all right there crammed together. So what we decided to do was mount these onto our lithium bank, which is still sitting here ready to go. We haven't charged it up or nothing, but we'll definitely do that before we put it in there. So for these, we're thinking we're probably just going to mount them on the side like this and like this. Something along those lines like that. And then we'll have the two positives coming up. They'll be, so if you're looking at it, this will be facing the back of the Tahoe. So this is facing the hatch, all correct and everything. We'll have it on the back of the box. The two zeros coming from up under the hood from the AGMs and everything will come up to right here underneath, behind that seat, underneath the amp. And they'll be running this way, and they'll come up and go to here. We'll have terminals and heat shrink and all that. And then they'll come up, go through this way. We'll have, you know, remote turn on wires and everything as well, but those are real small compared to zeros, so I ain't too worried about that. We'll have the zeros coming up to here, and then another zero coming up, and they'll kind of wrap around to go somewhere on this lithium here. And both of them will go just for the positives. So this one will come, go around this way, and then this one will be mounted on the other side, also wrapping around and coming up somewhere over here or something. So still just getting some ideas, but that's looking like our best option right now. That's probably what we're going to end up doing at some point today. So maybe tomorrow, not sure, but sometime this weekend for sure.
Yep. All right, cool. Let's see what else we can get into. All right, guys. We're back at one of our favorite places, and we're hunting for bolts. We found some. We forgot to fill y'all in at the house on what it is we needed to set out to go tackle. There's actually 3 different bolt things that we're trying to tackle today. But yeah, so we got some bolts, washers, nuts to attach those isolators to the side of that blue box. We got a test bolt for bolting the box to the Tahoe. Just one single test bolt. This thing is 4 inches long. It's a metric. It's a 12 millimeter. And so we're going to use that to just say, hey, let's get one a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, and then we'll fill you in when we get back to the house on what we're going to do with the big bolts, those big 3/4 inch. Boy, that's been an ordeal. We haven't filled y'all in on that.
That's the reason we're not doing that this weekend.
Yeah, we wanted to tackle that this weekend, but we're held off yet again. When you get bolts that are that big in diameter and that long, boy, it gets very challenging on finding what you need. So, all right, Skylar, let's get back to the house and get to work. We'll fill them in on what we got going on here. All right, guys, we come home and we just went straight to work. Skylar, tell us what we got going on here. What did we do?
All right, so the bolts that we just got from Marvin's, we actually got 2 sets of bolts. We didn't know exactly what length we would need. These are 1/2 inch, and the ones we ended up using are 3/4 inch. But basically, we got bolts, washers on both sides, and then a nylon locking nut to mount our isolators to the box here with. And honestly, it turned out pretty nice. Turned out like it looks pretty professional, to be honest.
Yeah.
Of course, we still got plenty of wires to run and all that. In the meantime, we also decided to mount our isolator, which I know I've been talking about for a couple weeks, but we finally did it instead of just sitting in the bottom of the box there.
Because that's how mine is on the test bench. Honestly, we probably need to mount mine.
Yep.
And we come up, Skylar, tell them how we mounted that.
All right, yeah, so pretty cool little process. I've never thought about using zip ties like this, but basically took one zip tie here. These things are tiny, but took one zip tie, threaded the other one on there like this, and here's like our box, and then here's the isolator or the balancer, and we just slid this on there, and then we cut off the excess from this one and cut off the excess, the whole thing of this one. Pretty much just sandwiched everything on there, and it just looks like a little,
yeah, we sort of made like a little zip tie rivet.
Yeah.
Because what we were going to do, we had a couple of options. We talked about drilling 8 holes total, having like another hole out here, and then running a zip tie through. And we was like, oh, how can we do that and not have to drill so many holes? So then we thought about running across, either that way or this way. But there's components in the way. So we made sort of a plastic, a zip tie rivet. And man, it works so great. Like this thing is really on there. We cannot wiggle it. Now we pushed them on as tight as we could, but we cannot wiggle it. And so now they didn't have to run across, and we didn't have to drill 8 holes either. So,
so that worked out pretty good.
Guys,
lithium's sitting over there in the back of the on the tailgate of the green truck.
it is. We'll set it back in this box here in a minute. Now that the box is pretty much done, it's definitely done for now. But there's nothing like if you've ever gone to I got a huge bucket of bolts and nuts and washers and stuff from over the years, and I used to have to always put stuff together by whatever I could find in my bucket, and I'm still glad to have my bucket sometimes. But there's nothing like going to the hardware store and buying exactly what you need, the right size, the right length, and then when you can do it and everything matches and it's not sticking out too far or too little, it just makes for such a much cleaner install, regardless of what you're doing.
These 1/2 inch, we put it in there. We tried these first because they stick out. I mean, barely more than you'd want to be perfect, but these, it would just barely go into the nylon, and that was it. So it would kind of, these weren't long enough. Those are just barely too long, but I mean, they still look plenty good. There ain't no issues with that. They're not too long or nothing, but.
And they were like $0.25 a piece, so it cost us an extra $1,
like $1
to just get both lengths. All right.
So the other bolt that we got, this one right here, this 4-inch, well, it's actually metric. It's like 100 millimeters or something. So not perfectly 4 inches, but it's real close. This thing is what we are planning on using. We only got one for now because we didn't know if this was going to be the exact right size or not. But these are the ones we're going to end up, hopefully, this exact size. But this is the one we're going to be testing with to see if this is too long, not long enough, whatever, to mount the box down to the Tahoe with. So hopefully this thing will just go in there. We didn't get any washers, which probably should have just got one.
We're going to have to make another trip.
Yeah, we'll go back anyway. But anyway, for testing purposes, it probably would have been nice to get the washer too. Yeah. But either way, these are, hopefully we'll end up with 4 of these going down in the bottom of the box. And the port bolts. So that's been a crazy ordeal.
Fiasco with the big 3/4 inch bolts.
Yeah, this is actually a perfect example to use. So this is only a 12 millimeter, but so the other, I think we got the bolts or the nuts and washers and stuff over there in a box, but the big port bolts that we've been talking about for several weeks now are 3/4 inch. So they're big old, they're huge. We don't have any here, but we got the washers and the nuts here, and we're wanting to sandwich a carriage bolt up against the bottom of the box to not stick out too far from the bottom, like have like a big old head or whatever on it. So carriage bolts were kind of ideal for that, so they wouldn't stick down or make the box have to sit up higher, because we already fought with that once.
Catch on the carpet as we're trying to slide it in and out.
Yeah, so carriage bolts are pretty much the best option for that, and it's very hard to find any carriage bolts. This is just a regular hex bolt, but it's really hard to find carriage bolts. We also need them 12 inches long, really like 11, but we can't get any 11 inch. So 12 inch is what you can find. It's really hard to find them where the whole 12 inches is threaded, and we need them to be threaded all the way down, because that bottom is going to be sandwiched up against the bottom of the box there, pushed up, like if you can imagine that. But then we need to thread a nut all the way down to here or so to sandwich it against the bottom of the box, and then we'll have to have another nut that sandwiches up against this, and then another nut that sandwiches up against that, and then there'll be a little bit of excess sticking out. So long story short, we need the whole thing to be threaded, and it is almost impossible to find 12-inch bolts, regardless of the head type or whatever, that are just threaded the whole way. So we've went into several stores trying to find them. Nobody around us that we know has them, and we even ordered some online that I thought were right from Amazon, and whenever we ordered them, thought they were going to be right the whole time they came in. They came in, and they were not threaded all the way. They were only threaded like halfway. So I was like, well, crap, I can't, I mean, there's no point in us having them.
And the picture showed them to be
Yep.
threaded, and even
Yep.
the box that they showed up in
Yep.
showed a threaded bolt
Yep.
for the whole length on
Yep.
the side of the box, but that's not what was in the box.
Yep. Yeah, I got some pictures. You may see them up on the video. I'm not real sure. I could send them to you and put them in the video. But
Okay.
I got some pictures of that to show in case they wanted to fight me about returning them, because I never even used them. I literally submitted the return the day they got delivered, because I was just like, there ain't no point in even trying to use them if they're not what I need. So anyway, need some that are all threaded. I already returned those. They already gave me my refund and everything. So we're gonna have to find out some other bolts to use for that.
We've checked. I've stopped in a Lowe's and a Home Depot this week.
Yep.
Yesterday, actually. Couldn't find them, but we did make a call a while ago
Yep.
to the Ace Hardware, the same store where we got the washers and the nuts, because we have a part number
Yep.
from Hillman
Yep.
for the bolt that should be right, and it should have been the bolts that showed up from Amazon.
Yeah,
but
the
it wasn't.
same part number that we're checking on, that we called the company earlier, says to be the same part number that we've already got in and returned. But the ones I got were not all thread or full thread, and they were partial thread. But now we're checking to see if they make that same bolt in a full thread that we can custom order or just get somehow, because we need that.
Yeah, and part of the problem is because we've chosen such a large diameter bolt. You know, if we was going with 5/8 or 1/2 inch, they would be slightly easier to find.
Yeah.
But once you get bigger in diameter and you need them to be longer than 6 or 8 inches,
Yeah.
they start getting difficult. And then when you need them to be threaded for the full length, then they get even more difficult.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty fairly easy to find some of the 3/8 or 5/16 or whatever that's threaded all the way if they're like 6 inches long. But if you get any longer than that, they start being like this. See, I mean, this one's even only a 4-inch, and it's
Right.
only threaded that last quarter or
Right.
something. But
Yeah.
that's why I was saying this is a pretty good example. But with us needing that, we could do all thread, but then we're gonna have a big old nut sticking off the bottom of the box, and that's not gonna work. That's just gonna be too tall.
started to try to go that route and just realized how thick that nut was going to be down there. It was going to be thicker than the head of a normal bolt, and we didn't like the thickness of what the bolt head would have been either. But the Ace Hardware is going to share my info with the rep, I guess the Hillman rep, for all their fasteners, and they know everything that we need, part number, all of that. And he's supposed to give me a call on Monday. So this has been an ordeal trying to get these.
Yeah, it's been, gosh, I guess 4 weeks in the making, or was that just 2 weeks ago?
That was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
When we filmed last, but we had tried
Yeah.
to find those bolts a few days
Yeah,
before that.
yeah,
And now this
Anyway.
is going to carry on for another at least week or two. So
Yeah.
it'll end up being 4 weeks probably.
yeah. Oh yeah, this has been a lot harder to find bolts than you would think it would be.
Yeah.
But I guess there's not many people that need bolts that long that need the whole thing to be threaded. So
Yeah.
anyway, I know we mentioned that several weeks ago, from when y'all saw it in some videos back then or whatever, but we're still trying to do that. It's just a lot more difficult and a lot more time consuming than we thought it would be. We thought we could just go to the hardware store, pick them up, do it that same day, but
That's what we
now
tried.
we're several weeks in the making. So
Yeah.
but
That's right. Okay.
yeah.
Well, guys, we've gotten to the end of another video. I know it's some more piddly stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoy the piddly stuff. I know that several of you do anyhow. But we're going to end the video here. It's probably not all that we're going to get done this weekend, but for this video, it'll be the end. So stay tuned for more. Thanks to all the subscribers. Check out my Welsh Audio Facebook page. Give it a like or a follow or whatever.
Yep.
And guys, once again, thanks for the support, and we'll see you next time. All right, guys, we're back. We still got Junie hanging out with us, by the way. We was leaving you on a little bit of a cliffhanger on not putting the lithium back in here, and we felt kind of bad about that. So we're tickled with having the balancer mounted to the side of the box. That little light stays on at all times. But also wanted to let y'all know that because of the way these corners stick out, it's physically not possible for the cells to touch that balancer because these corners hit before the cells can ever touch the balancer. In the same way that the heads of these bolts on the inside of the box are physically not able to touch these cells. It's too much of a distance here, and it stops right there. So they're not able to touch. So all that works out great. Once again, another reason why this box is so perfect for 4 banks of Yinlongs. We're just tickled with the whole thing. All right, guys, that's going to be the end of this video, and thanks for the support. We will see you next time.